I'm Veronica Dudo. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, another major appointment. Which prominent archdiocese is getting a new shepherd? Big money, what the EU has promised to Ukraine and what effects it will have. Plus, holiday music.
Tu scendi dalle stelle, o Re del cielo.
The saintly roots of this popular Italian Christmas song. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the feast day of Blessed Pope Urban V. Our top story tonight: for the second time this week, Pope Leo XIV has appointed an archbishop for a prominent Catholic archdiocese. Archbishop-designate Richard Moth will become the 12th Archbishop of Westminster in the United Kingdom. He succeeds Cardinal Vincent Nichols, who is retiring at the age of 80. At a press conference, the Archbishop-designate expressed his gratitude.
I'm very grateful, massively grateful for the great trust that Pope Leo has placed in me, and I pray that I'll be able to live up to that trust and continue the great work of the Church.
Now we'd like to bring on Edward Penton, EWTN News Senior Vatican Analyst and Senior Contributor to the National Catholic Register. Edward, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
What can you tell us about Archbishop-designate Moth?
Yes, well, Bishop Moth has been for some years now Bishop of Arundel and Brighton, which is quite a big diocese in southern England, for the past 10 years. And before that, he was the Bishop for the Armed Forces, I think for about 6 or 7 years. So he's been a bishop, I think, now for quite some time. He's got a lot of experience. He's experienced in prison pastoral treatment of prisoners, with criminal justice, and he's also done a lot of pro-life work. And he took part in the March for Life, spoke at the March for Life in London, in fact, in 2023.
What makes the Archdiocese of Westminster so important?
Right, it's really the prime diocese of England and Wales. Because it also covers the Houses of Parliament and the government and various areas like that. It's a very significant diocese. It's the biggest metropolitan diocese, of course, in England, and so it has a lot of weight. And basically, the Archbishop becomes very much the sort of spokesman for the entire Bishops' Conference. He also usually becomes the president of the Bishops' Conference, and of course is elevated to cardinal, as every Archbishop of Westminster has been since the see was instituted in 1850.
The UK is undergoing very turbulent times politically, economically, and especially socially. How do you think the Archbishop-designate Moth will handle that kind of climate?
Well, I think, Veronica, one of the reasons why he's been chosen is because he is considered to be very much a safe pair of hands. He's very much a sort of solid figure. He's doctrinally sound, and he's somebody who is also very good with people. He's very friendly and genial. Considered very much a sort of good fellow and somebody who's going to be very much good in that sort of mediative role.
What challenges in the Church will he face heading into the most prominent leadership role in the UK?
Yes, well, of course, it's very difficult in these days there's a certain amount of disunity. There's a lot of factions developing, especially in the UK, in the political system. You've got a lot of debates over immigration and other issues. You've got the assisted suicide legislation currently going through Parliament. So a lot of challenges facing the new Archbishop, who will be Archbishop. So there's certainly a lot on his plate. But as I say, he's somebody who's considered to be a safe pair of hands and who's very much adept at dealing probably with these challenges.
Edward Penton, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Holy Father has also appointed 2 new bishops here in the United States. In Palm Beach, Florida, Father Manuel de Jesus Rodriguez will succeed Bishop Gerald Barbarito, who is now retired. Rodriguez is currently a priest in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Also in the Diocese of Phoenix, Monsignor Peter I. Bowie has been appointed as an auxiliary bishop. He's currently the diocesan vicar for the clergy in Phoenix. Secretary of State Marco Rubio breaks a long silence in the State Department briefing room by holding a 2-hour press conference. He addressed issues around the world, including the war in Ukraine, the problems with Venezuela, and the effort to keep the peace in Gaza. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says President Donald Trump was elected to recalibrate foreign policy and make sure it fits U.S. interests. That includes the use of foreign aid.
That doesn't mean we don't care about human rights. That doesn't mean we don't care about starvation. That doesn't mean we don't care about hunger. That doesn't mean we don't care about humanitarian need.
Rubio calls the president a peacemaker who wants to avoid war, but admits ceasefires like the one in Gaza need constant work.
But this is not easy. Peace is a verb. It's not. It's an action. It's not a sentiment. Every single day will bring challenges.
And he believes the Trump administration spent more time trying to resolve war in Ukraine than any other international issue.
What we're trying to figure out here is, what can Ukraine live with and what can Russia live with? Sort of identify what both sides' positions are and see if we can sort of drive them towards each other to some agreement.
But in his own end-of-year press conference, Russian President Vladimir Putin insisted the Kremlin's military goals will be achieved in Ukraine.
We are ready and willing to end this conflict peacefully based on the principles I outlined last June at the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and by addressing the root causes that led to this crisis.
When it comes to Venezuela, Secretary Rubio says America's goal is regional security and stability.
We have a regime that's illegitimate, that cooperates with Iran, that cooperates with Hezbollah, that cooperates with narco-trafficking and narco-terrorist organizations.
Rubio supports military strikes against drug boats in the area.
Every single one of these is justified. We know who's on those boats. We've been tracking them from the very beginning. We know everything about them.
EWTN News also asked Rubio about the backlog of visas for foreign-born priests and religious workers.
Obviously, one of the big users of that system is the Catholic Church in the U.S., and so we've worked with the Conference of Bishops, and I think we're going to get to a good place. We don't have it ready yet. All this takes time to put together, but we're moving quickly, and I think we'll have something positive about that at some point next month, hopefully in the early part of next month.
European Union leaders have agreed to provide Ukraine with a massive $106 billion interest-free loan for the next 2 years. The deal comes as Ukraine faces potential bankruptcy and was set to run out of cash by next spring. The EU originally planned to use $246 billion in frozen Russian assets to fund the loan, but instead will borrow the money on capital markets. Andriy Dobryansky, Director of Communications and Media at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America, joins us live for more about this deal. Thanks so much for your time.
And thank you for having me.
Why did the EU decide not to use those frozen Russian assets?
It has to do with what the majority of countries could vote for, and it's clear that just like NATO membership for Ukraine 10 years ago, for NATO, what we had in the European Union are certain countries whose parliaments and internal politics isn't for releasing this money because they tend to favor the Russian aggressor. And therefore, what happened was that the European Union turned to a backup plan. So instead of transferring frozen assets, or at least the interest of that frozen assets to Ukraine, what they decided to do is to offer a loan based on the savings of these countries within Europe, like you said, interest-free. And that does make sure that Ukraine can have an active budget in the coming year, until such point that we can have a ceasefire and outside investment can come back in. This is a country, again, that has no tourism, has no outside money coming in, and has been subsisting mostly with the help of its allies.
What does this deal signal to President Putin?
Well, it demonstrates again that when President Putin is going to war, he has countries like North Korea, China, Iran, and as we heard, the Secretary of State, Venezuela, and others, those are his allies. When Ukraine is forced to defend itself because it has been attacked on its own territory by this foreign aggressor, it has many more people who are willing to help it. What has happened until this point is Russia has been way more aggressive in what it's willing to do, as opposed to the Western allies, who've been slowly doling out additional financial aid and specifically weaponry. At some point, if you want to come to a conclusion, President Trump will have to, and the rest of the West will have to impose maximum pressure.
U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are set to meet Saturday with a top advisor to President Putin in Miami. With territorial concessions still the major sticking point, do you believe the U.S. can realistically nudge both sides towards common ground?
I think what it's become clear is that Ukraine has been willing to work with the United States in any kind of context, whether that was the meeting early in February, in March, signing a minerals deal with them, traveling to Istanbul in May, agreeing numerous times over the past 300 days to a full ceasefire should President Trump demand it. What we've had from the Russian side is continued civilian bombings. I want the viewers to understand that what has happened in Ukraine in November is an exponential increase in civilian casualties from 2024 in the last month of November, which is higher than what happened in 2023. So Russia has only increased civilian attacks upon Ukraine, and 99% of those casualties are on Ukrainian occupied land, not in territory that has been conquered by Russia.
Andriy Dobryansky, Director of Communications and Media at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America, thank you.
Thank you.
The Justice Department released several 100,000 documents to Congress relating to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but the partial batch was far from complete and not in compliance with new legislation requiring full disclosure by today. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche defended the department's actions. EWTN's Montse Alvarado has the latest.
So today, several 100,000, and then over the next couple weeks, I expect several 100,000 more. There's a lot of eyes looking at these, and we want to make sure that when we do produce the materials we're producing, that we're protecting every single victim.
But Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, who helped lead the effort to force the release of the files, says the law Congress passed is clear. Today is the deadline.
This is a case where the president who appointed the attorney general and for whom the attorney general works has signed a law, and the ink is not even dry yet on his signature on this law. There's nothing that's subject to interpretation.
Democrats accuse the Justice Department and the White House of protecting President Trump.
We're talking about thousands and thousands of pages of evidence. And I can't say with any certainty that we've got a complete picture of what happened. Their reluctance to disclose this information tells you there's more there. I hope there isn't, but there could be.
Republicans say Democrats are just playing politics.
The Democrats, of course, just want to keep trying to attack Trump. But if there was something against Trump, they would have done it. During the Biden years, I mean, shoot, they raided illegally in Mar-a-Lago. They indicted the guy. They did everything else. So if there was something there, it would already come out during the Biden years.
The House Oversight Committee's top Democrat warned of more drastic steps if documents are withheld.
They have to release everything. We will use every tool available to us, including if we need to go to the courts and if we need to take legal action to get the files released, we're prepared to do that.
Oversight and Judiciary Committee Democrats said in a joint statement that they're examining all legal options to get all the files released. Montse Alvarado, EWTN News Nightly.
We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly, including new details. Authorities brief the public on the Brown University shooting. We have the latest. And President Trump announces new deals with major drug companies, what it means for your wallet next. Today, President Trump announced new agreements with major pharmaceutical companies to slash prescription drug prices for Americans.
As of today, 14 out of the 17 largest pharmaceutical companies, but they've all agreed, have now agreed to drastically lower drug prices for their American patients, for the American people and patients. This represents the greatest victory for patient affordability in the history of American health care by far. And every single American will benefit. So this is the biggest thing ever to happen on drug pricing and on health care.
The primary objective is to align U.S. drug prices with the lowest prices paid by other developed nations. This aims to end global freeloading, where higher U.S. prices effectively subsidize lower costs in other countries. The search for the Brown University shooting suspect is over, but the investigation into the motive is just beginning. Police announced the shooter had been found dead in a storage unit in New Hampshire 5 days after the attack. Authorities revealed his identity as Claudio Neves Valente, a 48-year-old Portuguese national and former Brown graduate student. He has also been linked to the murder of an MIT professor that took place 2 days after the Brown University shooting. Both had attended the same engineering program in Lisbon. Authorities briefed the public on their findings.
So investigators identified the vehicle that he had rented in Boston and then drove to Rhode Island. And he was seen the vehicle was seen outside of Brown, and there was security footage that showed a person who resembled him. There is a video footage of him entering an apartment building in the location of the professor's apartment. And then later that evening, he is seen about an hour later entering the storage unit wearing the same clothes that he had been seen wearing right after the murder.
After years of ban threats and legal battles, the wait is over. TikTok has officially signed a deal to sell its U.S. operations to an American investor group. The deal, backed by President Trump, creates a new joint venture called TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC. Tech giant Oracle and firms like Silver Lake will take majority control, while ByteDance's stake is slashed to less than 20%. To satisfy national security, TikTok's famous algorithm will be completely retrained using only American user data overseen by Oracle to prevent outside manipulation. With the final close set for January 22nd, the app used by 170 million Americans is officially here to stay. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, next stop, Asia. The next World Youth Day is being held in a non-Christian country for the first time. Learn about the preparations being made. Plus, learn the roots of a popular Italian Christmas song. Earlier today, Pope Leo received South Korea's newly appointed ambassador to the Holy See, Hung Sik-shin, who presented him with his credentials. They discussed the Holy Father's upcoming visit to South Korea during World Youth Day 2027. The ambassador has called the decision a diplomatic opportunity to revive the momentum for dialogue and peace on the Korean peninsula. EWTN's Vice President and Chief Global Officer Andreas Tannhauser sat down with Archbishop Peter Jung-soon-taek of Seoul to talk about the upcoming World Youth Day.
We're here in the Archdiocese of Seoul, which will be really at the heart of the next World Youth Day in 2027. Your Excellency, what are young pilgrims to expect when they come here to Korea for the World Youth Day?
Young people will observe the church in Korea that began about 250 years ago with a courageous search for truth led by young lay people at that time, and whose faith was strengthened by the sacrifice of many martyrs. So the history of resilience and hope will challenge young people today to live the gospel with courage in the world of today. Also, the World Youth Day Seoul 2027 will be the first World Youth Day held in a non-Christian country. In fact, in Korea, there are many different cultures, many different religions that live peacefully side by side. They will see how we can witness to the gospel in this multicultural society.
Are there any hopes that you also have for the people, when the young people are coming? What impact will it have for the church?
Young people will experience in Korea different language, different culture, different history. However, in spite of all these differences, they will experience that we are one in youth. We are one in God. we will have many opportunities to listen to the voices of young people, their hopes, their struggles, and their questions. At the same time, also young people will experience the beauty and depth and wisdom of the tradition of Catholic Church. So this kind of mutual understanding will not end with event. It will help us reshape youth ministry in Korea. So we believe World Youth Day will leave a long-lasting legacy, more welcoming church, more vibrant youth ministry, and deeper sense of communion with the universal church.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the preparations you put into this World Youth Day already.
Thank you very much, and come and see. Thank you.
This year's Vatican's Nativity Scene honors the figure of Saint Alfonso Maria de Liguori, who played a big part in helping evangelize the shepherds of Italy. EWTN News Vatican correspondent Valentina Di Donato recently went to where it all began.
Tu scendi dalle stelle, o Re del cielo.
Do you know the meaning behind one of Italy's most well-known Christmas songs, Tu scendi dalle stelle, from starry skies descending?
E vieni in una grotta.
Father Luca Preziosi, the rector of the Sanctuary of Santa Maria della Consolazione in Deliceto, Puglia, has opened the doors to this special church and sanctuary where 3 saints lived and where one became inspired to write a song that has moved generations of Italians to the Catholic faith.
Ma poi racconta il suo biografo. According to his biographer, he fixated his gaze on this painting, a beautiful image, and he felt called personally by Mary, to which he was deeply devoted to remain here. Qui, in questo santuario.
But what inspired Alfonso Maria di Liguori, not yet a saint, to write this song?
Nasce dal cuore e dalla penna.
Born from the heart and pen of Alfonso Maria de Liguori, in love with Jesus, but passionate about humanity, and very close to ordinary people. Alfonso wants to share a little of this beauty, of his knowledge of Jesus. And how does he do it? He says, but these simple people who come down from Abruzzo don't know how to read or write. How do I talk to them about Jesus?
Come faccio a parlargli di Gesù?
And so Alfonso Maria di Liguori was struck by inspiration on how to speak to these people, society's simplest. Many were the sheep herders that hailed from Abruzzo that took part of an ancient pastoral practice of seasonal migration of their flocks from the mountains of Abruzzo to the plains of Puglia during the winter season.
I will write songs for them. This is the origin, in his heart, that desires to evangelize everyday people.
EWTN News was granted access inside of the sanctuary of Santa Maria della Consolazione, the place the moment of inspiration struck for the song, but also where the 3 saints lived. From the hermit Blessed Felice da Corsano, an Augustinian who lived in the cave here for 30 years, to Saint Alfonso, who wrote Tu scendi dalle stelle, to Saint Gerard. A song that Luciano La Monarca, a tenor originally from Puglia, wants to bring the translated version to the United States. He recently met with Pope Leo XIV to present his initiative.
I imagine that St. Alfonso saw these thousands and thousands of sheep in these valleys, and these men and women who came down who didn't even have a home, nothing. And how could these people feel? With this shepherd, a good shepherd really wants to make them feel that they are important. Because Jesus says he comes down from heaven for them. A bit recalling the story told by St. Luke. These shepherds who were there in Bethlehem and saw the angels there. So St. Alfonso says, I also want to speak to these shepherds today about God's love for them.
Parlare dell'amore di Dio per loro.
In Deliceto, Valentina Di Donato for EWTN News Nightly.
L'avermi amato.
We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.